My name is Jason, I'm 28, and until about 3 weeks ago, I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Her name is Natalie, or Nat, as most people call her. We'd been together for 4 years, lived together for 3, and were 2 months away from tying the knot. I'd saved up for a ring that took me nearly 8 months of working double shifts. I was never flashy, never showy. I just wanted a good, solid life with someone I trusted. That was the plan, until TikTok, tequila, and a very public mistake turned it all upside down. Nat and I had a pretty typical relationship. A few bumps, a few arguments, but nothing alarming. She was outgoing, the type who made friends with waiters and bartenders. I'm more reserved. I like deep conversations over loud crowds. Still, we made it work. She brought the color, I brought the calm. That's how I used to describe us. She worked in social media marketing and was glued to her phone for most of the day. Me? I'm a civil engineer, the kind of guy who builds stuff and forgets to take photos of it. You'd think that would be a mismatch, but I guess opposites attract. Or maybe I was just too blind to see the cracks forming beneath the surface. The wedding was set for mid-June. We had a beautiful venue just outside the city, an old vineyard with an outdoor ceremony space and string lights that looked like magic at night. I put down the deposit myself, $6,000, non-refundable. Nat's parents offered to cover the catering and decorations. My folks offered to help with the honeymoon. Everyone was all in, or so I thought. Then came the Bachelorette trip. She and her bridesmaids flew out to Miami for 5 days. She told me it'd be low-key, mostly beach time, some dancing, and nothing you wouldn't be okay with. I wasn't worried. I trusted her. At least I did then. I even sent her a surprise bouquet to the Airbnb on the first night, with a note that said, "Can't wait to call you my wife." She sent back a photo with a kiss emoji. I smiled, went back to grading some site plans, and didn't think much more of it. But then, 2 nights into her trip, my phone buzzed. Not from Nat, but from my cousin Brent. "Dude," he texted, followed by a TikTok link. "You seeing this?" I clicked the link, not expecting much. Maybe some party video, a drunk dance. But instead, I was greeted by Nat, looking very done up, swaying with a margarita in hand, standing on a beachside balcony with 2 of her bridesmaids behind her. The video was captioned, "If this gets enough likes, maybe I'll stay single #Bachelorette. #girls just want to have fun." And she said it, too, right into the camera in a fake flirty voice. "If this gets enough likes, maybe I'll just stay single." The 2 bridesmaids hooped and laughed. One of them shouted, "You've got time, girl." My stomach dropped. I read the comments. Most were just heart emojis, some laughing faces, a few strangers egging her on. Then I saw the top one. From me. "Sounds good to me." I didn't think. I just typed it. And then I called the venue. I told the coordinator to cancel everything. Ceremony, reception, tables, decor. I didn't ask for the money back. I just told them to shut it all down. The woman on the phone paused and asked, "Are you sure, Mr. Weaver? It's a bit close to the date." "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm sure." I hung up. I stared at the wall for a few seconds. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. Not yet. Just a kind of numbness, like I'd been walking around for years not realizing I'd stepped into a sinkhole. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. First it was her maid of honor, Shelby. "Jason, what's going on? Why would you comment that?" Then her sister, Amanda. "Are you joking? Did you just cancel the wedding?" Then Nat herself. I ignored it at first, letting her call go to voicemail. But she didn't stop. 3 missed calls. 6 texts. Finally, I picked up. She was crying. "Jason, please, what are you doing?" It was a joke. "It was just a stupid joke, babe." "Stop calling me babe," I said, and my voice came out sharper than I expected. There was silence on the other end. "You said you'd be okay with me having fun," she said softly. "It was just a trend. It was a TikTok trend. Everyone was doing it. A trend where you imply you don't want to marry me?" I asked. "Do you even hear yourself right now?" "It's not that deep," she whispered. "It was just a joke. You're overreacting." I hung up, and that's when the group chat exploded. Apparently, her bridal party thought I was being controlling, insecure, emotionally reactive. They started flooding my socials with vague posts. One of them wrote, "Some men can't handle a confident woman." Another posted a story with the caption, "Glad we saw his true colors before it was too late-eyed." It was like I was watching the relationship die in real time, with a Greek chorus narrating it. Her mother called me that night. She was livid. "You ruined her reputation," she said. "Do you know how hard she's worked to plan this wedding?" All because of one TikTok? Grow up, Jason. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just said, "Did you watch it?" She paused. That's not the point. I hung up again, and then I sat in silence. For hours. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake going through every moment from the past year. Every time she'd pulled her phone out during dinner. Every time she'd posted something for the algorithm. Every time I'd swallowed something that made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to seem insecure. And I kept thinking, was it always this fragile? Was it always performative? I didn't answer her texts the next morning. I didn't call her back. I didn't check Instagram. I didn't want to see what was being said. But then Brent called again. "Man," he said, "I think you need to see this." It was another video. Same balcony. Same group of girls. Different tone. Nat looked directly into the camera and said, "So apparently my fiancé saw my last TikTok and canceled our wedding. Some people just don't get jokes." She sipped her drink. Then she added, "If anyone wants to marry a fun girl who doesn't take life too seriously, hit me up." The comments were brutal. Some laughed. Some called me controlling. Others asked for her number. And I just sat there, watching it, letting it all sink in. Because that was the moment I realized this wasn't about a single TikTok. It was about everything I had ignored. Every red flag I'd folded into origami and called a heart. Every moment I had told myself, "It's fine. It'll pass. She loves you." But love doesn't humiliate. Love doesn't play to the crowd at your expense. Love doesn't turn pain into content. And I wasn't about to let her turn me into the villain of her influencer story. Which brings us to what I did next, the part no one expected. But I'll get to that, because that's where things really start to unravel. When they realized I wasn't just canceling the wedding. I was canceling something much, much bigger. I didn't respond to the video. Not publicly. Not privately. I didn't write some dramatic rebuttal or try to defend myself in the comments. That would have just fed the narrative she was already building. The story where she's the quirky, misunderstood bride who got dumped by a controlling guy who didn't get her sense of humor. No, I decided to do something different. See, what none of them realized, not Nat, not her bridesmaids, not even her mother, was that for the past 6 months, I had been quietly footing most of the wedding costs. Nat wanted a dream wedding, and I didn't argue. I just opened my wallet. The venue was on me. The custom invites? Me. The deposit on the honeymoon resort in Santorini? Also me. Even the dress, the one she cried over in the boutique and said made her feel like a queen, she split with her parents, but they only paid a fraction. I covered the rest. Because I believed in the future we were building. Because I thought I was investing in something real. But I kept the receipts. Every invoice. Every email confirmation. Every wire transfer. I had everything logged and itemized. Mostly because I'm a spreadsheet guy. It's just how I work. I never thought I'd use any of it for leverage. But now I had a reason. The day after the video, I visited our shared apartment. She wasn't home yet, still in Miami, riding the wave of her momentary clout. I packed my things. Every tool, every book, every piece of furniture that had been mine before she moved in. I left the sofa and the bed because we bought those together, and honestly, I didn't want them. I was out within 3 hours. Clean break. No note. No dramatic text. But I did leave one thing. On the kitchen counter sat a manila envelope with a neat stack of papers inside. The first page? A printout of a Venmo request. $14,802.56, itemized to the last napkin. Underneath it were the receipts. All of them. And on the last page, a short note I typed the night before. "Natalie, I watched the videos. I've also watched our relationship slowly become less about us and more about whatever could be clipped and captioned. I don't blame your friends, or your mother, or social media. I blame myself for letting it get this far. You humiliated me publicly and then doubled down on it. That's your choice. This is mine. You can keep the apartment. You can keep the followers. But you don't get to keep the illusion that there weren't consequences. I've enclosed the full breakdown of what I paid for. I don't expect you to pay it all back, but I do expect a conversation. A real one. Not on TikTok. Not through your PR-obsessed bridal party. Just you and me. You have my number. Jason." That same night, I stayed at my cousin's place. Brent's always been one of the few people I can count on. When I told him what I'd done, he didn't say "good job" or "finally." He just nodded, handed me a beer, and said, "About time you stopped carrying everyone else's weight." We watched a game in silence, and I tried to feel okay. But I wasn't. Not really. There's this strange emptiness that comes when you finally cut the cord, even when it was strangling you. I kept thinking about the early days with Nat. The lazy Sunday mornings. The way she used to leave me dumb little notes in my lunchbox back when I worked on the bridge site. Before her phone became more important than our conversations. Before every moment had to be curated and posted. Before I started fading from her spotlight. The next day, I turned off my phone. I needed space. Not from her, from everyone. Because while I expected her to be mad, to post another video, maybe even cry on camera and try to flip the script, I didn't expect what came next. When I finally turned my phone back on 2 days later, I had dozens of missed calls and even more texts. Not from Nat, from her friends, from her mom, even one from her dad, who had always been distant, but at least somewhat grounded. Jason, please call us. She's not okay. You took it too far. Be the bigger person. That one made me laugh. But then I saw a voicemail. From Shelby, the maid of honor. It was short, breathless. Jason, she's on the way home early. I don't know what happened. She's freaking out. You really need to talk to her. This isn't funny anymore. And that's when I checked Instagram. She'd gone dark. The video was gone. The story highlights? Deleted. Her entire feed, wiped clean. That's when I started to wonder, was this remorse? Or damage control? Later that night, I got a knock at Brent's door. He glanced through the peephole and said, she's here. I stood up. My heart pounded. I hadn't planned for this. She was supposed to call. She was supposed to ask to talk. Not show up on my doorstep, still tan from the trip, still wearing the fake smile that had fooled so many people online. But when I opened the door, it wasn't the confident, filtered version of Nat I'd known for the past 2 years. It was someone else entirely. Tear-streaked. Hoodie instead of heels. No makeup. Just Natalie, the girl I met 4 years ago. Jason, she whispered. Please don't shut the door. I didn't. But I didn't say anything either. I stepped aside. She walked in. And what she said next was not what I expected. Not even close. Because it turns out, the wedding wasn't the only thing that had been built on a lie. And what she was about to confess would change everything I thought I knew about our relationship and myself. Natalie sat on the edge of Brent's couch like it might swallow her whole. She was trembling, not the kind of nervous twitch I'd seen before a job interview or after a bad fight, but something deeper. Her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap, I thought she might leave bruises on herself. Brent gave me a look, then quietly left the room. The door clicked shut behind him. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she looked up at me, eyes red and glassy. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. I watched the video. Nat, I said, standing with my arms crossed. You didn't have to explain. You said everything you needed to. It wasn't about you, she said, and that made me laugh, dry, bitter. It was about me. You implied to thousands of people that you weren't sure you wanted to marry me. You called it a joke, then doubled down. And when people laughed, you laughed too. I was drunk. That's not an excuse. She looked away, her shoulders slumping like the weight of it all was finally catching up to her. I know that now. So why are you here? I asked. Why not make another video about how I'm insecure and can't handle a confident woman, or whatever Shelby said? She flinched. I didn't post that. I didn't ask them to defend me. But you didn't stop them either. I was humiliated, Jason. You canceled everything before even talking to me. You shut me out. I took a deep breath, forcing myself not to raise my voice. Because for the past year, every time I tried to talk to you, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to a version of you curated for strangers. You live online, Nat. We don't even have memories anymore that aren't filmed or filtered or hashtagged. She didn't argue, just sat there, quiet. Then she whispered, that's why I came back early. Not just to talk. There's something else you don't know. Something I haven't been honest about. I sat down, but still kept my distance. What? She swallowed hard, like her throat was coated in glue. Do you remember the sponsorship I told you about? The one I said might help pay for the honeymoon upgrades. Yeah, the swimsuit brand. You said they were giving you a travel stipend. She nodded slowly. It wasn't just a brand deal. It was a contest. I stared at her. What kind of contest? They were looking for a new face of the brand. Kind of like an ambassador. Part influencer, part model. I entered. I didn't say anything. It was dumb. I didn't think I'd win. But then the numbers started going up. Followers, engagement, shares, and they emailed me saying I was in the top 3. That's why I made the TikTok. I blinked. You posted a video threatening to stay single for a brand deal? She nodded, eyes glossy. They wanted something viral, something that would make headlines. And I thought if I could get just one moment to blow up, I'd win. They said I needed to show I could command attention. I stood up again. I couldn't sit still. So everything, the joke, the likes, even dragging me into it, was just strategy? No. Yes. I don't know, she said, voice cracking. I didn't think it would matter. I thought you'd laugh. Or just ignore it. I never expected you to actually cancel the wedding. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing now. You gambled our relationship for likes, Nat. Do you even hear yourself? I didn't think I'd lose. That stopped me cold, because it was the most honest thing she'd said all night. She didn't think she'd lose. She thought I'd just take it, like I always had. Like I did when she turned private moments into content. Like I did when she insisted we delay our anniversary dinner for a sunset photo shoot. Like I did when she posted that story of me crying the day my grandfather died with the caption, "He has the biggest broken heart." All of it had been a slow erosion. I hadn't seen the cliffs collapsing because I was too busy trying to hold up the sky. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I wanted to marry. I saw someone who'd been so consumed by the digital applause that she couldn't hear the silence growing between us. Why tell me this now? I asked finally. Why come clean? Because I didn't win. I paused. What? She looked up at me, her face hollow. I lost the sponsorship. They picked someone else. Someone who was less controversial. I stared at her, stunned. You mean, all of this, the entire spiral, was for nothing? She nodded. They said I crossed a line. That I'd alienated my audience by turning something as serious as marriage into a marketing ploy. They said it wasn't a good look. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. She destroyed our engagement for a shot at influence, and even that had slipped through her fingers. But that's not why I came here, she said, quickly, sensing my disgust. I'm not here because I lost. I'm here because I realized I don't know who I am without all of it. And that scares me. I built this whole life online, and now it's collapsing. And you're the only person I ever had who saw the real me, who liked the real me, even when I didn't like her myself. There was a long silence. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something, her engagement ring. I kept it with me. I didn't throw it away. I couldn't. I wanted to remember what it felt like before I turned everything into content, before I forgot how to just be with you. She placed the ring on the table. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know I don't deserve that, but I needed you to know I'm sorry. Not the PR kind of sorry, just sorry. I stared at the ring, at her, at the pieces of a life I had almost built, and how easily it had all cracked under the weight of a trend. I didn't say anything, not yet, because in that moment, as the silence settled between us again, I realized I had one more card to play, something I hadn't even told Brent, a secret I'd kept even from myself until it was too late. And once I revealed it, the entire narrative would flip. Because Natalie wasn't the only one hiding something. And what I was about to say next would change everything, again. I sat there, staring at the ring she placed on Brent's coffee table. A simple, elegant thing, white gold band, modest diamond, nothing flashy. Just like us. Or at least, how I thought we were. For a moment, I felt the old weight of it again. The hope, the promise. But now it felt like an artifact from another life. Natalie sat in silence, her hands folded, eyes low. For once, she wasn't performing. No dramatics, no tears perfectly timed for sympathy, no phone half-hidden recording a candid breakdown for her followers. Just a woman who knew she'd lost something real, and maybe realized it too late. I walked over to the ring and picked it up, and then I looked her in the eye. I need to tell you something, I said. She nodded, bracing herself. I didn't just cancel the wedding, I began. And I didn't just move out. She blinked. What do you mean? I dissolved the lease on the apartment. It's gone. I paid the termination fee, cleared it out, and handed in the keys this morning. She paled. But I live there. You did. But the lease was in my name. You never wanted to co-sign, remember? Said it was too much commitment before the wedding. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. And I talked to the venue. I continued. The one you said was your dream vineyard wedding? I asked if they had any interest in using our cancellation story as a case study for miscommunication in wedding planning. Turns out, the coordinator is writing a book. She asked if she could use the story anonymously. I agreed. You what? Jason. I also spoke to the catering company. Since everything was canceled weeks in advance, they offered me credit. I transferred it to Brent and his fiancée. They're getting married in the fall. Her lips parted. You gave our wedding credit to someone else? I shrugged. Figured it might as well go to someone who actually wants to be married. You know, for real. She sat there, stunned. But I wasn't done. One more thing, I said, walking over to my backpack. I pulled out a black folder and set it on the coffee table next to the ring. What is that? She asked cautiously. I opened it. Inside were printouts, screenshots, emails, even a few legal documents. The brand that dropped you, I said, reached out to me. Her eyes widened. What? They were worried about the press, the backlash. Wanted to make sure you hadn't actually been abandoned at the altar. Asked me to comment. She looked like she might throw up. I didn't respond at first, but then I did. I told them the truth, that you were willing to sabotage your own relationship, your own wedding, for a shot at temporary internet fame. That you weaponized our private life for content. That you orchestrated an entire narrative without my knowledge, just to boost engagement. You didn't, she whispered, trembling. I did, and I included your videos, screenshots, and the messages you sent me after I canceled everything. She covered her mouth. They sent me a follow-up, I said, thanking me, letting me know that, moving forward, you're blacklisted from every major campaign they're affiliated with. And since they're one of the biggest social branding networks in the lifestyle influencer space, that's going to make things tricky for you. Her hands dropped from her face. Why would you do that? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I didn't want to. Not at first. But then I watched you twist our breakup into sympathy content. I saw you playing victim. I saw people sending me hate, calling me controlling, manipulative. I lost a job opportunity because someone on the hiring board saw your video and thought I was unstable. You made me a punchline, Natalie. So I responded the only way I could, quietly and with receipts. She stood up, chest heaving, shaking her head like she couldn't quite believe what was happening. You ruined me, she whispered. You destroyed everything I built. No, I said, stepping closer, calm. You did that. I just made sure you couldn't sweep it under the rug. She stumbled back, reaching for her phone, like some part of her instinctively wanted to record the moment, to control the narrative. But then she stopped, because there was no narrative left to save, no brand to salvage, no followers to win back, only consequences. And for once, she had to sit with them. I'll find something else, she said finally, her voice raw. I'll rebuild. You think this ends me? It doesn't. I nodded slowly. Maybe you will. But next time, don't build it on someone else's trust. We stood there for a long moment. Finally, she turned toward the door. I'll get my things, she said, barely above a whisper. You've got a week, I replied. After that, the unit will be locked. I already told the landlord. She didn't respond. Just walked out quietly. No slamming doors. No parting words. Just silence. And when I heard her footsteps fade down the hall, I finally exhaled. It didn't feel like victory. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like freedom. 3 months later, I was living in a smaller apartment across town. No flashy view, no curated bookshelf wall, no ring on the counter. But it was mine. Brent and his fiancée sent me an invite to their wedding. Same venue, same catering, even the same string light setup Nat had wanted. They asked me to be the best man. I said yes. And as I stood there during the ceremony, watching two people promise each other a future without hashtags or filters, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. I didn't need to get even. I didn't need to trend. I just needed to remember who I was before I became someone's content. And now, I was back. Whole. Unfollowed, maybe. But finally real.